Well, welcome to Trapping Radio. We're coming from the Pennsylvania Trappers Convention. And I got Tommy Bryant here with me out of North Carolina. Tommy catches a shitload of coyotes and beaver and, other stuff we'll be talking about. So, make sure you stay tuned and, you'll hear what Tommy has to say. He's got a lot of knowledge, especially for you guys starting out. But we'll introduce our sponsors, F&T Trading Post. They got all kinds of different, anything you want for trapping, anything you want for dog hunting or predator calling, they got it all. You can get a hold of them at 989-354-8727, fntpost.com. Funky's Trap Line Supply, Hilltop Trap Tags. Alan's a good guy. He likes to, deal with trappers, and he's a, real big dealer down there in Iowa, and he'll definitely take care of all your needs. So, get a hold of him at funkytraptags.com. Then we got Okie from out to Oklahoma, which would make sense, wouldn't it? And, it'd be weird if he was called Miss whatever, and he was from Oklahoma. So, like I always say every week about Jeb, he's like an old-time fur buyer. He's got trapping supplies, he's got meat, he's got glands, he's got a little bit of everything. And, he doesn't have a junkyard, but he'd like to have one, So if you need any weirdo stuff, Jeb is the guy to call. So, then you got Dunlap Lures, and I just always say, appreciate everybody that's, uses our product. And, if it wasn't for all of you guys out there using my stuff, my skill set would be working at McDonald's. And, you don't want to go to that McDonald's because that would not be good. So I do really, really appreciate everybody that handles our stuff and buys our t-shirts and, keeps us doing this because, nobody bought nothing. We ain't got the money to get to the convention. So anyways, welcome, Tommy, and I really appreciate you doing this.
Absolutely.
So, you're from North Carolina.
I am.
Born and raised there?
Born and raised. I actually live within 100 yards of where I was born at. So I'm still on the family farm. All my parents, grandparents, everybody's gone. So it's just me taking over the land now.
Huh. Well, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it worked out.
So you know that ground really good.
I do know that ground really good. I was 7 or 8 years old, riding my bicycle up and down the roads, fishing at the bridges and the creeks, and running around in the tobacco fields all the way up till I got a four-wheeler when I was 13 and riding around shooting stuff I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah. That tends to happen.
Yeah, when you turn a 14-year-old loose with a 22 rifle and a four-wheeler and
a full box of ammo.
We were buying the bricks of 22 bullets, and it's like my allowance every week was another brick of 550 rounds.
And some shit's gonna pay.
What stopped all that was my dad had a friend, and we went over there, and me and my dad's friend's son, we went out with a 22, and we thought it was okay to shoot a bunch of little sparrows and robins and everything else, and we had our little vest on, and we come back, and they had all been drinking, and they were pretty pissed off because we killed all those birds. And my dad's friend says, if you kill it, you're going to eat it. So we sat out there plucking Tweety birds for 2.5 hours. And naturally, they didn't make us eat it, but they taught us a pretty good lesson about you don't go out there and kill something you're not going to eat or not going to use. Mm-hmm.
That's what my dad did. He took me and my brothers on a canoe trip up this way desolate river, and you guys can shoot everything you want going up this river. It wasn't legal. We're shooting red-winged blackbirds, and we were like shocked he's letting us gun all this stuff down. We got up to where we were going to camp way up this river, you know, and he made us eat. We had to do the same thing, pluck them, and it was no salt, no nothing, on a willow stick. We didn't even have a frying pan.
You don't forget that.
No. So I ain't shot a black-winged blackbird or red-winged blackbird since.
Same here.
Yeah, thank God we didn't shoot a green heron.
Oh my gracious!
I'd still be there eating it.
Tastes like frogs and fish. Don't ask me how I know. Oh man, but yeah, we had some good times growing up. You know, I started out as a hunter. I didn't start out as a trapper. Nobody in my family hunted or trapped. My dad, through some friends, I got into hunting when I was in about 10 or 11 years old, shooting BB guns and stuff, and kind of escalated from there. And they didn't ever tell me I couldn't do it. They just never were there to really push me to do it. Started into hunting when I was early on. And, you know, with hunting comes bag limits and restrictions. Mm-hmm. And we butted heads with a game warden a few times because I wanted to kill what I wanted to kill, and the law didn't want me to kill. So we had some run-ins in the early days, but it actually ended up being great because one of the game wardens that, I'll just say he pursued me pretty hard. He actually got me into trapping. So he was a little trapper, and he didn't do a whole lot, but he did a little bit, and he showed me the ropes. And I remember the first year I did beaver, I thought I was something. I showed up with 7 beaver that I'd fleshed and stretched out, and they looked like a starfish and had chunks of hair missing out of them. And, you know, all the guys laughed at me when I walked in, but they didn't embarrass me to the point that I didn't do it anymore. They said, here, look, this is how we're going to do it. So I showed up, and they showed me a lot. So thankful for the game wards in that aspect for kind of, not only did they stop me, but they taught me.
Well, you had an edge on all them because now that's how they look when they're doing them per pound, you know.
You're exactly right. It's funny how all that circles back around.
Yeah, you were just ahead of the curve.
Exactly. Everybody says, well, you gotta put them up like a starfish. You don't have to put a whole lot of time into them because they're going to the hatter market and they're sold by the pound. I was like, you know what? I don't have a problem doing that. But everybody else tells me, says, I just can't put them up like that. I got to put all them extra. I said, not me.
No.
I grew up differently.
No. If I only had to put one nail in the middle, I'm good with that.
I tell everybody now, they said, how many rings or nails you put in? I said, every one of them gets 16. I don't care if he weighed 10 pounds or he weighed 70 pounds. It's 16 nails or 16 hooks. That was all they're getting. But just definitely speeded up the process.
Yeah, it's just a different market.
Yeah, it's crazy how it went full circle. It seems like everything I get into goes to crap. So I'm finally glad to see something cycle back around to where I can make money doing it.
Yeah, we'll take advantage of it because it will circle back to crap.
Yeah, I started out with the beaver. Beaver were bringing good. A year and a half into that, they kind of backed up. I mean, it was better than what it has been the last few years, but then I started into pounding otter pretty hard. First year I really targeted otter was I think it was 2004, maybe, that I really went after them. And I caught 40 maybe that year, 30 or 40. And they sold great. I mean, they were $175, $180 averages on some of those, better put up ones. I did get one for like $255, I think was the highest I ever sold one for. And that was in NAFA. The next year, I stopped doing my live market. I stopped doing beaver. I mean, I did beaver because you naturally catch them. And I pounded the otter pretty hard, and I more than doubled what I caught and sent them to NAFA. I already planned to buy a new vehicle and all this stuff. And 4 years later, I was still waiting for money.
And still waiting.
Luckily, I sold mine. I think they went for about $25 on average when they did sell. So it wasn't
a little bit less than when you were going to buy the truck.
Exactly right, just a little bit. And of course, the truck had went up in price since then, so it was a lose-lose.
So now you got to catch more.
Now I got to catch more, yeah. But it soon, jumped in out of that back into the live market side. North Carolina, we've never did a lot with fur market on the canine side as far as money-wise. So I figured if I was going to be a trapper and I was going to make this work, I needed to make money doing it. Then we hammered the live market. It's a little hard to get into it when you're first starting off. Nobody wants to tell you any information, who to sell to and stuff like that. It's kind of a hush mouth. And now I'm the same way. You know, I get to my age and everybody's like, how about this or how about that? I'm like, I don't know. You know, kind of keep it to myself.
Yeah, there's no information you're going to give out that's not going to cut your own throat.
Exactly. I don't mind helping people, but I'm not going to do all the work for them.
Mm-hmm. Or cut your own throat while doing it.
Exactly. Well, then it kind of jumped into the turtles. Newt was coming down buying turtles. I was like, man, I'm going to get rich doing this. The turtle market was up. I think we sold turtles for $3 or $3.50 a pound for some of those female turtles. Males were going for like $2.25, $2.75 a pound. I mean, and you go out and you catch. We were allowed 10 turtles per day, and you catch 10 male turtles at 30 pounds, 300 pounds of turtles, and you're getting almost $3 a pound. That's almost $900 a day. You couldn't tell me nothing.
No.
And then I went out and bought all these nets. I spent all the money I made the first year, bought all these nets, bought a new boat. I'm going to hit it hard. And then it crashed. So here I was left again, holding a bill with no money to pay it. But it's...
I'm starting to wonder if you're were you trying to trap coon? Is that what's the problem with this market?
Luckily, knock on wood, I've never really targeted coon hard.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah, I don't need to bring that black cloud in.
No.
But it definitely has been the worst end of deals every time I get started in something. So I was glad to see the beaver come back around.
Yeah.
Now I'm hoping it kind of goes in order. It's the beaver, and then it's the otter, and then the turtles again. But
I could see. I mean, you know, I don't know anything any more than anybody else, but I mean, I could see where the otter would pop up here at some point. I mean, they've been creeping up, and you know, it's not like raccoons or beaver where they're, you know, you can go out and kill a whole bunch of them. Most, like all the northern states pretty much have a limit of, you know, like 3 to 5, 1, you know.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And I know I've heard Clint say it a lot of times. Why don't you trap in their state? And he says, because you have restrictions. I go to a state that doesn't.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm in a state that we have no restrictions.
Yeah.
It would definitely hindered what I tried to do growing up and getting into the industry. But I would love to see otters come back. I don't want to see them come back to the $100 average. I know a lot of people are thinking that, but the competition that was there, the amount of people that were doing it, the stolen traps, the ground. We've had it lucky the last several years with the beaver and the otter. You kind of pick up whatever ground you want.
Yeah.
If you wanted to continue to do it for a lower price, and I feel like trapping's my thing. I haven't hunted in many years now. I just trap, whether it's turtles in the summer, beaver work in the summer, and then, I mean, I'm lucky enough that our season in the state that I go to.
That's Rich Fowler's vehicle. Rich, your wife's having trouble turning off her car. She's trying everything she can. Rich Fowler's wife's climbing over into the driver's seat, trying to turn it off. She's still not getting it. This is a trapping convention. Now she's made it worse. She's shaking her head. We should be shooting a video of this.
There it goes.
It's in success.
This newfound technology. But yeah,
she still looks befuddled over there. She can't, having a hard time opening the door.
Yeah, we, start with the live market stuff in a certain state, and as of September 1st. So I'm September 1st, and then beaver in my state ends at the end of March. So I've only got a few down months, and then it's back to the drawing board. So it's definitely always something to do. I don't think I could do one species all year like some people do. I would just get burnt out on it. So I kind of jump around. I'll hammer something hard for a couple months, and I'll jump into something else for 3 or 4 weeks, and I'll go back to something else.
That's how I like to trap. Is I don't want to go trap coyotes for 6 months. I like to start in the beginning trapping coyotes, switch back over halfway through trapping coyotes. Maybe trap coon or muskrats in between. I don't really care what it is. I just like to bust it up and have some, like you say, something different.
I think it makes you more efficient. Your drive is better for whatever you're going after, because you know how it is. You get to setting a lot of traps, and at the beginning of a trap line, you're catching a lot of animals. Well, towards the end of that trap line, you're not catching a lot.
Yep.
Your drive kind of goes away.
Yep.
Your excitement for checking those traps kind of goes away a little bit.
Yep.
And then you're like, I want to set some new stuff. So we try to do that, but it's just only so long you can run. A person can run. There's some people out there that I just don't know how to do it. People like Phil Brown and stuff. It's just nonstop canines all year when he's doing it, and my hat's off to those guys that can do it. I can't.
Yeah. That's not what I mean. Not what I would. That was not my ideal trapping situation. Like, I guess if I had to trap one thing, it would be, I don't know, probably, I was going to say beaver, but then I thought I got to carry all them damn things out. I would say weasels.
Weasels.
Weasel, because they're small. I put them in my pocket. If you break the tails off, it's really not a big deal. You got $1.
Whether he's got a tail or not, it's still
you probably could put it on a key ring and sell it to somebody. So I would say I would just pick weasels.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we got weasels where we're at. I've heard of a few of them, but it's like mink. We don't have enough to target. But I go where the money's at. I know a lot of people say I don't trap for money, but if you're going to trap full-time year-round, you got to have money to operate on.
Yeah.
So I kind of stay with what the money is. And plus,
I think people get confused. It's like you're going out, doing multiple trapping things throughout the year, live market, where there's money in your area to be made on what you're doing. In some of the areas, they don't have that opportunity. Say Ohio, they don't have a live market, I don't think. And, they don't have that opportunity. So, that's when, the people start saying, well, if you're not trapping just because you love it, you're doing it for the wrong reason. But they don't have the opportunity. And, my thing is, I never made any money chasing women. But I went and did it anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
And it cost me way more than trapping ever cost me.
Exactly.
And I guarantee all the guys right now are shaking their head yes.
Guaranteed.
You never made a dime chasing women.
Guaranteed. And
if they say they did, they're lying.
You're right. I get that a lot. I get a lot of people, especially with Facebook the way it is, and the way they perceive whatever they do in their area as the only thing that can be done. You see it with regulations. People post about they put a set out there or whatever, and the first 30 people that comment on it are going to say, oh, that's illegal. Well, it might not be illegal in that person's state. Same way with the live market. People say you should never be able to trap fur. No season should ever come in before November 15th or December 1st because the fur isn't prime. Well, not everybody traps for fur. Mm-hmm. Some of it's damage control. Some of it's live market. You never know what they're trapping for. So people need to be mindful of what.
Yeah, and if you live in, say, southern Iowa, your weather is a little bit different than in northern North Dakota, northern Minnesota, stuff like that. It's like the UP of Michigan. I've seen a couple years ago where our season starts October 15th, and there was, I think it was 4 or 6 foot of snow them guys got, like on the 20th of October. So they had 5 days of season.
Exactly. I talk to people like Swanson all the time, and he says he's got a few weeks at the beginning of the season and a few weeks at the end of the season to pound beaver. I'm like, I just couldn't do it.
And then build up your energy in between.
Yeah, it's like I'd be 750 pounds and wouldn't be able to walk by the time the next season got there. I couldn't do it. But yeah, so, and I get that when people, they'll come up to me and I'll post pictures in October or September or whatever with some animals I caught. And
on the beach.
On the beach, yeah. In the sand. The Sandman is what a lot of people call me. But, I'll post.
And you tried to switch that over onto me, but it didn't work.
I did. I seen some of them sandy flats y'all working on in Michigan. I'm like, oh, yeah, who's the Sandman now? But
nice try, though.
But I'll post those pictures and people send me messages and, man, that's wrong to be trapping those animals this time of year, this and that. Like, they're going live. They're not going dead. So it doesn't matter what the pelt's like. And for me, I like to trap the dumb ones. Those pups, from about August 1st, there's no more new coyotes being born until the next year. So whatever your population is from the first day of season, it's constantly getting smaller as you go.
Yep.
So whether it's hit by a car, shot with a gun, or trapped by some trapper, the population's always dropping. So I try to hit it as hard as I can, as early as I can.
Yep. Yeah, I've always made the most on coyotes on the early dump, pups.
Oh yeah.
Like our season opens October 15th. They're still together, and they got a different mindset up till like the first part of November at our place. But after gun season, when the gun deer season up there, every coyote in the woods is a coyote.
Yep.
There's a mental change during that period, and I don't know if it's just gun season or if that's when their age, comes to. I don't know what, but when you go back to trapping them after gun season, there ain't no more dumb ones.
Exactly. I noticed that with us too. I try to hit it hard in October. Our season comes in, depends on what county you're in. It could come in at middle of October or the middle of November. But you're right, about the time the gun season really starts pounding on them around November, and you get these gut piles everywhere, they change. They're not, a pup coyote pays the same as an adult coyote to me. And a lot of places, the pup coyotes have better fur if you're trapping fur side, as long as it's, primed up a little bit. They won't be rubbed up as bad and stuff. So it's definitely a plus to get out early, and you got more animals. But
the more animals is always a benefit.
Exactly. I can't, for what I do, I can't go out there and chase every single coyote. I'm trapping numbers of coyotes. So the bigger the population, the better off I am. And it's just the way it is. But like you said, January, once the breeding season starts with us, they are a different coyote. I changed my stuff up totally on how I trap them, and it's part of what's made me successful later in the season. If I will say, if you're going around punching dirt holes in all year long, and that's all you're doing is dirt holes, you're going to have a rude awakening as the season goes.
Yep.
The further the season gets in, the worse it's going to get on you. So doesn't hurt to go to these schools and learn a little bit. There's some great teachers across the country. I'd love to go to all of them, because you might not revamp your whole line, but if you pick up a trick two here or there, it definitely can help you out in the long run.
Yeah, because that's why my thing is I'm not looking to, like you said, revamp my whole line or my whole strategy. I'm always looking for just one little thing that makes my life easier or makes me a little bit better. I'm not looking for a whole new system.
And then you get to the point that you get to go to conventions or see demos and get picked on nonstop about your accent no matter where you go.
Yep. You talking about that Mennonite kid?
No. That was funny though. Haggerty, we need you as an interpreter.
Yeah, it was funny yesterday. We were standing in the building and Tommy was talking to this Mennonite kid with a real strong accent, and we're just looking at him. I was like, "Oh my God, these guys should do their own podcast, comedies."
I couldn't understand half of what he said.
He understood you just fine.
Maybe that's what it was. But Jeff had this look on his face, like, "Huh?" What did he say?
I like to aggravate him.
Oh me, but yeah,
I always ask them, did you run off with that guy's wife? They're like, no. Are you sure? And I was asking the one Mennonite kid yesterday. I said, Do you think you could kick that Amish kid's ass over there?
What was his response? I remember it.
He said, we're not supposed to fight, but I could kick his ass.
That's what he said. He said, we're not supposed to,
And
but
we're not
it
supposed to
happens.
drink beer either, but sometimes it just happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was pretty funny with that, but yeah. But yeah, it's trapping is a game that you have to play. You have to learn it. And the harder people ask me a lot about how do you catch this, how do you catch that. There's not a true secret. There's not this one item that you're going to go out there and do, and it's going to all of a sudden make you catch a bunch of stuff. It's hard work. It's going out there and putting a lot of sets in to catch a lot of animals. It doesn't happen with one or two, or if you're a person running 30 traps a day and you're running a week here and taking off a week and then a week there, you're not going to catch the big numbers that the guy that's running 100 to 150 traps. I mean, that's been said many of times, but people don't truly believe it until you really get out there in it and your paycheck depends on it.
Yeah.
You know? I tried to go up to the dealership one time and take a few furs and see if they would go ahead and take that as payment, and they kind of looked at me funny. I was like, no, we're not doing that.
No, that's too many furs.
I had them in the back of my truck when they were going in for a service, and I said, look, instead of paying my payment this month, can I unload a few of these on you? Like, we don't want them.
Just called them antis.
I had to put sugar in my tank or something. But yeah, it's definitely...
I definitely wish we had like the live market up in Michigan and stuff like that. I mean, it gives you opportunity, but it would be so controversial up there because people don't understand that, you're taking care of the animals and, they're not being abused and, all this stuff. And, a lot of times trappers are their own worst enemy, the problem is you get the guys that show, where they put a bunch of coyotes in a pen, take a picture, and you got, 14 coyote faces looking at you, and people don't understand that, it's just a transport. You're not storing them like that, and there's misconceptions on how it all is. Because the thing is you're doing it for a living. You're doing everything you can to make that coyote comfortable and make sure he lives and everything's healed, and because a dead coyote is worth zero in North Carolina.
Exactly. And the misconception is the biggest thing. A lot of people say the live market, oh, that's cruel. You're putting them in a fox pen. You're running them with dogs. Well, yes, they're putting them in a pen, but the pen might be 1,000 acres or 800 acres. And they're putting a certain amount of coyotes in this pen. They're not putting 3,000 coyotes in this pen. They're putting 300 coyotes in this pen. They're feeding them every day. They get shots. They get whatever they need to take care of. And some of these coyotes might get ran once a month. And they put, most of it is dog training. A lot of people think they go in there and when they have a, quote, hunt is what they call it, they think they're going in there and shooting these coyotes. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. There are no guns allowed in there, period. They go in there and chase them with dogs. They put a number on the side of the dog. They have judges throughout the pen that judge them on a point system on whether they're chasing or sight hunting, or I don't know how they grade them, but it's a point system based off of that. And at the end of this hunt, it might be a day hunt or a 2-day hunt or whatever, 4-hour hunt. At the end of this thing, they score everybody. Nobody knows whose dog's what. The judges got a number they went by. Dog 743 has 25 points on my card. And they add all of them up, and whoever's got the most points at the end of the hunt, they're the one who win. I mean, I've seen hunts where they give out a truck.
Because if the dog catches the coyote, don't they have to pay for the coyote?
They don't have. Some pens are different, but if the dog catches the coyotes, they have what they call bay handlers within the pen on side-by-sides. If they hear the dogs make a different sound, a unique sound when they bay up, they'll be in one area not moving. And the coyote will fend that dog off for a pretty good while. I've seen them lay on hot fences, and the dogs wouldn't bite the coyote because the coyote knew that it was going to be electrified if it did. And the coyote, you see the coyote twins on the electric fence, stuff like that. But the handler will get there and take a catch bowl and remove that coyote into a cage and take him to the center of the pen where there's usually a couple of acres fenced in. where they put those coyotes. It's a holding pen, and they put them in there until the hunt's over, and then they let them back out to do whatever they need to do. So
I mean, I don't know. It sounds like a pretty good life to me.
it is.
Somebody feeds me, lets me run around in a pen.
And
it's better. I mean, we put people in prisons; they ain't got that much freedom.
Exactly. And these these pen owners, they don't want to see the coyote die.
Because then they got to go out and
then
buy
they got to buy another one. It's a money game for them, and people turn it into a barbaric sport. Do things happen? Yes. Do things happen in the wild? Yes. It can happen, but they do their best not to, and it takes the coyote out of our population, which is going to be a serious problem if they do away with our pens, because unlike northern states, we have no fur market. So, I mean, I know for a fact for me, if live market wasn't a thing in North Carolina, the only coyotes I would trap was if people paid me to trap them. I wouldn't trap them for fun.
No,
they're hard to deal with. The facility that you have to hold them in is pretty tough. So we got a lot of time and effort in that, and it's not as hard as fur trapping because you don't have to put the animal up, but you still have to give it shots. You still have to hold it in a pen, take care of it, make sure it has no nicks and cuts on its feet when you sell it. That's mainly the reason why I run a 1.5 soft catch. I get pounded for that hard all the time, the little baby traps. But I've got fox and coyotes, and live market's my thing, and I do not want any damage on any of them. So that's what I run. Do I miss some coyotes? Absolutely. I have people call me all the time and say, "Hey man, I'm gonna catch me some coyotes this year, but I see you running the 1.5. Do you like that better?" Do I like it better for what I do? Yes. If I didn't have a live market for fox and coyotes, I probably wouldn't run that trap.
no.
It's not like I'm going to Minnesota and I'm going to be running a 1.5 soft catch, or wherever
you
I'm
probably
going.
didn't run them in North Dakota.
I did not. I did take a handful of them in North Dakota, just to set, and I caught a couple coyotes on the 1.5s there, just so when the people got on Facebook and said, "Yeah, you like that 1.5 so much, but I see you went to North Dakota and you ran 650s everywhere out there." I was like, "Well, no, actually I did. I caught I caught 2 in a 1.5 while I was out there."
Isn't it too bad that as small as our community is, that you have to do that?
It is terrible, and you find yourself fighting each other more than you're fighting the people who are really against you. I know just from being in the Trappers Association stuff, going to the conventions, there's a lot of people that don't like other people for various reasons. And some of it's trapping. Just because they see somebody successful, they want to bash them. And it's like that in your home area too, whether it's your state.
That's went back a long way, because somebody important one time said a prophet has no honor in his own hometown.
That's right. It's
and
right.
That's held true for 2,000 years.
Exactly. You're exactly right. It's like that. Some people, don't get me wrong, some people are great. They're always wanting to chit chat with you. I learn from people all the time. Anybody can learn from anybody. If you go to a show somewhere or a convention or somewhere, 9 times out of 10 you're going to see me sitting in a demo area watching somebody do a demo, and they're like, "Why are you watching this person doing a beaver demo?" Or, "Why are you watching a person doing this coyote demo?" I'm like, I don't know everything. This person probably knows something that I don't. And you can always learn. So I always try to take in as much information as possible. That's why I try to go to as many conventions as I can at different areas, because you see how different people trap.
I caught the end of Boom Boom Nelson's demo with Neil Olson yesterday.
I didn't know he was doing one. I was chit-chatting in another building, and I come out, and he come walking by, and he says, "I guess you know everything." I said, "Why are you toting your lure?" I didn't know what he was talking about. He says, I said, "Why are you toting your lure bag around?" He said, "Because I just did a demo." I said, "Well, I didn't know that." And he said, "Yeah, me and Neil Olson did one together." I said, "Well, darn, if I'd have known that, I'd have went and saw Neil." But no, Brian's a great trapper. They do a great school too. And like I said, there's so many of them out there. Don't bash one school because that particular person you don't like or whatever. You can learn from anybody. Every school is out there to teach. They're not out there to just take your money and not give you any information. They're showing you stuff.
I think entertainment-wise, if you just took the schooling out of it, entertainment-wise, the school I personally would go to would be the Matt Jones.
Yes.
Matt is a good storyteller, charismatic. I think that to take trapping out of it, just ride along to listen to the shit.
Ain't that the truth? The stories that could get told. Matt's got
dirt on everybody.
Exactly. It's like he's always figured out a way to get something over on somebody and hold it in his back pocket. It's like a bunch of playing cards, you know. He's just waiting for the right day to throw it out there and embarrass the living snot out of you. But yeah, Matt's a great guy. I've kept up with his videos all the way back. I mean, Clint's the same way. Wayne Derrick. I mean, there's some great trappers out there willing to give information. Go soak it up. Be a sponge. Don't be that person that catches 20 coyotes and thinks that they know everything and comments on every post and does that all. We got trouble coming up.
Yep, she couldn't stand it. Here comes Sarah. What's happening? Yeah. We're recording.
We're recording. You got anything you'd like to say?
No, you're not.
Yeah, I am.
We're about 30-some minutes into it.
Yep.
That's all you've been talking?
Yep.
Well, we had to sit out here and talk about what we were going to talk about. Come up with a game plan.
We were just talking about schools.
Yeah, so, I mean, like I said, great schools out there. I don't know if you and Clint don't do a school together anymore, right?
No.
Okay. I know you used to.
We did one for 2 years, and last year we we went and got such a nice place that we only could get a couple students signed up, and we started seeing, that it was going to cost us a bunch of money, and we're just, when the coyote prices dropped out, that was, the end of it. And you see in pictures of other schools, they always say they're filled up, but, they're, lacking numbers too. And, I just say, hey, we didn't fill the school, couldn't fill the school. And, we didn't want to, spend $1,000, So what I did was the people who were signed up, I gave them the option, if you want to come out for half price, because Clint ain't going to be here, I'll drive you around, and we'll do private instructions. And if it wasn't for that, if they'd have been paying 5 times that much, I wouldn't have done it. It's not really my thing.
Yeah, and I guess it's just hard to justify paying that kind of money to go to schools when fur prices are down the way they are. People, you got your risk versus your reward, and a lot of them are. I know a lot of people say the Midwestern, like Matt and them schools in Kentucky. It's in Western Kentucky, and it's like the East Coast way. It's like a lot of people think if you're on the East, like the East, like North Carolina, the coastal states. That's not really east to us. That's west to us. So the Eastern school, I think the population of people would help out if people started doing it. I know Chappie's got his coming up at the end of September. That me, you, Haggerty, Sarah, and
I mean, like I said, Matt's for entertainment purposes is the best. But I think dollar-wise, Chappie's is the best because. I don't even know what he charges because I
can't remember.
I think it's $400 or $500. I mean, and you're an instructor there, Haggerty. I can't wait to get you two guys together because you guys are about equally on the quickness on the ragging on. I'm just hoping that I'm not like in the center of attention.
You're just not going to be the joke the whole time.
No.
We'll have to,
not that I'd have any choice, but
we'd almost have to invite somebody else just so we can all pick on that same person.
Chappie.
There you go.
Don't anybody tell Chappie he's the target. The object is to see if we can make him cry. And and it has to be big crocodile tears.
Yeah, it can't be the small ones.
No.
But yeah, it's so the schools, I wanted to go to Nelson's, and the problem with some people is it's during trapping season, which is to me the best schools that are right around trapping season, right in before, right after, because you're getting the animals at that element. You're not, July out there trying to catch coyotes or show somebody to catch. You can only show them so much from a field non-field standpoint. You go out in the field, you can show people a lot. And but yeah, Western, some of them schools were a long ways. I looked them up. They were 18, 20 hours from me, and I live in the central part of North Carolina. So it's tough, but I get it. So that's why these shows are pretty good. You can go to different trapping shows and see somebody do a demo and pick up something, and then go by and buy all your supplies and don't have to pay for shipping. So it's kind of a win-win situation. But I truly enjoy them, and especially like with the mat. You're talking about the funny part of it, the laughs and the giving each other a hard time. That would definitely top a lot of them.
I know, like Matt and Brian's school. I almost would pay $1,400 to see Matt rag on Brian for 2 days. I said, I don't care about any of the rest of it. I just want to ride along and see, you torture Brian for 3 days.
And Brian tries to give it back, but I tell you, boy, it's
hard to give it back to somebody that don't care.
Exactly, and he doesn't. And
but they're both good guys, and Brian doesn't have to take a back seat to anybody on trapping, but he still ain't Matt Jones. It definitely. It's definitely a star status there. And because if you take trapping out of it and just told Matt's life story.
Oh, that right there is just. Let me have a week of that. Just listening to the stories.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
It could get interesting, and Brian has been putting these memes on there with me and some other people, and we had that war a year ago, and I messed up and put Matt in them with it, and I got unfriended for a year. So Matt's just come around to liking me a little bit anyway.
He sent you a friend request.
Yeah, he did. So I was proud. I was like, man, I watched all his videos from the time I started trapping all the way up, and now I got unfriended. Yeah,
he don't screw around on Facebook. I mean, like I'll see somebody post something and they're gone.
Exactly.
He's.
Still don't know what I actually did, but I'm assuming it might have been the memes that we were going back and forth.
I think when you put him in the Brokeback Mountain thing with Brian.
That might have been it, but that's why I told everybody. They said, we're going to start this again. I said, nope, not me. I'm not getting suckered into this one.
Because if I can't use the real ammunition, I'm not going to shoot.
Exactly. But so we'll see how that goes. But we have a good time on Facebook. I don't take anything personal, what people post and bash me. I don't know how you guys do it with the comments on Facebook. We were talking about that last night. I think it would eventually get under my skin with the anti stuff and
the antis once in a while will irritate me from having a bad day or something, but it's generally the ones that is the trappers are worse. When they got usually if they attack you, it's they got a friend that's a lure dealer or a supply dealer that doesn't like you, and so they're on that bandwagon. One guy goes around bashing every time my product's mentioned. He would go and bash my product, and now I seen him. He started saying, "I'll never use that predator control group. It's always been junk." And then if you go back on his post, he was using it before.
Exactly.
And that's just that's just the way social media is. People are more hateful these days, and it's just kind of transcended into that. But you get to the booth and everybody's nice. Nobody comes up and has any rotten shit to say to your face.
Exactly. It's all on Facebook. I see
that. We used to call them telephone tough guys. I guess they're Facebook tough guys.
Exactly. Yeah, I see that a lot. There's nobody that I dislike in the trapping community, especially when it comes to these shows. These people are putting on an effort to come out and sell their product, and they're trying to make a living doing it. They're not out there screwing anybody over. I've personally, since I've been into the live market side, I have the luxury of handling live coyotes almost year round, pretty much year round at some point. And, testing baits and lures and seeing the different stuff that's out there. And most of these reputable dealers, if they're still in these buildings year after year after year, it's because they have a good product. It's because it worked for people. It might not everything work in your area that somebody makes, but they put out good products. They know what they're doing.
Yep.
And and if I have something that I really like that I get, I don't take free stuff. I mean, I have been sent some free stuff, but if you see me post something on Facebook and I'm giving a shout out to somebody's stuff, it's because I bought it. I bought it and tried it. Your stuff, same way. People just thought I got a bunch of free stuff, and it wasn't the case. I bought what I had, and then you sent me a couple of things to try with it. But it's some good stuff.
That was Sarah.
That was Sarah. You don't give out the free stuff, just Sarah.
My thing is I never ever would have a problem with giving trappers of something free. But, like you don't want, you basically, I don't want to go out and give free stuff and then it looks like you're buying that person to, they feel obligated. If you just keep it all above board, I mean, I donate stuff to, lots of stuff, lures and stuff to the conventions and stuff, and, but that's different. But to just go out and start handing out lures and, throwing it all around the country, and, I don't do that with the testing, where I send it out to 20 people and they test it for me. I do it all myself, and, and I don't, want them obligated to, be like hired. I always looked at like the pro staff when they say pro staff, them are like, call them what they are, hired liars.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you want more free stuff, you better give a good review.
Exactly. And that's what I don't want to get into. If something doesn't work, I'm not going to use it again. I'm not going to push the product. If it does work, I'll give them a shout out. I mean, there's some great lure makers out there. There's some great stuff. And don't get wrapped up in using the same thing, one item year after year. Even within your stuff, you have different products that you can use. You don't have to use the same. If I'm not knocking on Soul Taker, but if you use Soul Taker 10 years in a row and that's the only thing you're using, maybe switch it up. Maybe get something else that Jeff sells or something Sarah sells or something. Because there's always... Coyotes are different. I've seen coyotes when I make sets with certain baits. I'm not going to mention them. I'll never tell anybody what they are. But there's certain stuff out there that I've tried. The coyote got within 6 feet of the hole and turned around and went the other way. Ran. Just didn't want to mess with it. But then you get some that will go up and roll on it. Some of them will do different things with it. So it just kind of be mindful when you're out there buying stuff and
like you said earlier, if you the guys that are there year after year, it's like, Paul Dobbins is set up across from me. I mean, I want somebody to come over and buy my stuff, but you know what? If I was out of beaver lure, Paul Dobbins over at the Backbreaker, that would be where I would walk him right over there and feel comfortable saying this is a good product.
Exactly.
And Mike down at Beaver, I've never used his lure, but, lots of people review it that I trust that use Mike's stuff. I would feel comfortable if I was out of Big Pile. I would just, recommend that you ordered it from fntpost.com. But
yeah, exactly.
But, if they had to have it right now, I would walk them down to Mike at, And
a lot of these big names are sold in F&T, you can get them right there. You don't have to go to a show, or you don't have to go to that person. I'm fortunate enough to live an hour and 15 minutes from Paul Dobbins. So if I need something that Paul's got and I'm going through the area, I call him up and stop and get it. But then you get into everybody in North Carolina uses a lot of Paul's stuff because he's located there. Maybe you want something different. Maybe you want a Dunlaps, or maybe you want a Bearded Man stuff, or whatever it may be. So it's definitely the shows you can get you a variety and try them out for yourself. Do not rely on somebody else telling you that this doesn't work, because like you said, if they don't like that person, guess what review you're getting? It don't work.
No,
even though it might.
And it's nice, like talk about Paul. He's such a nice guy.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
He's got that skeeter pee, and he keeps coming over giving it to Sarah all weekend.
We've been trying to buy that skeeter pee for 5 or 6 years now. Every convention, everywhere we go, it's like, Paul, what would it take to get me a bottle of that Skeeter pea? It's not for sale. It's not for sale. And he's stuck to his word on that. It's not for sale.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason why we come to conventions, so we can always try some every time we come.
Mm-hmm. I've never tried it before.
Really? It's pretty good.
No, he was over there giving her cup after cup, and he even gave her the bottom of the bottle. You know, there was like, I don't know, half a bottle left, and he came over and said, "You want this?" And he had some wine he made that he gave her.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
It's good. It's
all the years I've set up by Paul, you know.
You never tried it?
No, he never even offered.
It might be a reason.
Yeah. I know the reason.
Yeah.
Shit, since Sarah showed up, even Newt Sterling will talk to me.
Oh, wow. Oh, Newt's an interesting fella. He's another one of them you'd like to sit and listen to. I used to sell turtles to him, and a few times I went down there to his place in North Carolina where he was at, and just kind of sit and listen. You know, didn't eat anything or drop a few turtles off, but stay a few hours just to listen to some of the stories he tells and pick his brain.
Yeah.
And that's the good thing. You know, you want to go to these conventions and you get these good trappers drunk and start finding out all their secrets.
Mm-hmm.
That's the...
They'll tell them all then. You have to kind of weed your way through the bullshit a little bit. But...
yeah. Try it all and figure out what was right and what wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely worth going and learning. Everybody can learn.
And so you do the live market, you know, and trap beaver, and the beaver prices are up. You also got a game bird farm?
Yeah, we sell quail, pheasant.
Bobwhite quail.
Bobwhite quail. Don't do the pheasants anymore, but we do the eggs and the adult birds in the fall. It's kind of giving me something to do. I left the hardware store after 23 years back in September. I had to have both feet on the ground running. Had to have something to pay the bills because I'm not that good of a trapper to where I can catch enough to pay all my bills. So I had to rely on something.
The prices got to come up for anybody too.
Exactly. You know, that's why I hang on to the live market as long as I can, because the fur market I always seem to lose on. But this year, hopefully, it spins around and I get on the lucky side one time. But yeah, the bird stuff is kind of I ain't gonna say it's a back burner because it is a good source of my income, but it definitely, I try to automate everything so I can spend as much time in the woods as possible.
Where do you sell? Like, do you ship out like all over the United States?
Yes, we ship not the birds but the eggs. The Postal Service is terrible about keeping the bird alive for you. When it's 1 day shipping, it turns into 3 day shipping. And
what do you guys have a website for that?
We do. It's BryantGameBirdFarm.com. You know, my information's on there. They can call me. I ship eggs all across the country. I've shipped to 3 foreign countries. So that's usually the best way to get eggs. Hatch rate is not as good if you bought them in person, but still it's better than trucking them from here to California.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's just part of the income, part of the thing. But the trapping is the passion. Hopefully one day I'll get to the point that trapping can pay the bills. I mean, it does good, but you still have to have something.
And then you do turtle trapping during the summertime.
Turtles during the summer. They'll go into, a lot of people don't believe it, they'll go into a summer hibernation in about July when the water temperature hits about 80 degrees, and they just don't move much, and they won't feed much, so it's harder to catch them. It's kind of like...
Just like beaver.
It's like beaver, you know, the later the season, the hotter it gets, the more gas you spend to catch the same amount of animals, so you have to weigh those options. Is it worth me going out there and doing it? North Carolina, we've got a limit, so we've only allowed so many turtles, and I try to keep 30-plus pounders. I don't want to keep anything under that, because if I can only keep 100 turtles at 30 pounds is a whole lot better than 100 turtles at 15 pounds.
Do you have alligator snappers there?
We don't. There's been a few reported cases in the very southern part of the state, towards the Georgia, South Carolina line. But I don't know if they were even confirmed. I just know people talking about, I seen an alligator snapper down there, but have to go a little further south. We do have some soft-shell turtles. They're in the rivers in the more southwestern part of the state and the southeastern a little bit.
Being from Michigan, we are not having them where I'm from. Them soft-shelled turtles, them some bitches can really move.
Oh yes, people think a turtle's slow, and some of those species are.
Yeah, because they're like down and they pop up and they got like legs like
It's like they're running downhill on the slide the whole time.
We caught one down there and it had 2 holes in it where an alligator had bit it on the back of the shell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the alligators are a problem in the southeastern part of our state, especially with the turtle trapping. I haven't ran into it. I don't go far enough south during the winter to really get into the alligators beaver trapping, because you have to get really far south to get the water temperature up in January. But turtle trapping down east, and it can get rough, especially on the east coast, southern east coast. It can get rough because I've had several traps tore up. I've caught alligators. I've had to release them. I don't want my equipment messed up, so I try to stay away from them.
Yeah, because what you're using for bait for the turtles is definitely interesting to the alligator.
Exactly. They like meat too. So whether it be fish or whatever you're using, it definitely attracts the alligator, and he don't care whether it's underwater or above water. It's his. Yeah, that trap ain't stopping him.
No. When we caught that one down to Louisiana, we didn't have no experience with alligators, me and Haggerty. And, you laugh about it, but, like, we're talking when we go up there. Because we knew we got it. It's on game camera, And so, we know we got it. Get down there, and I'm like, Jeff, I don't know nothing about alligators. I said, I don't know. Are their claws like razor sharp?
They're pretty sharp.
So you got to be careful where you grab them. It's like releasing a bobcat. If you knew nothing about bobcats, if they had claws on the back feet, it would cause a problem. So we're trying to eliminate this. Exactly. Basically, going to Vicksburg for the emergency room. And it went smoother, but I think I would have had a hell of a time releasing like that alligator, by myself.
Yeah.
Because they're so damn long.
Yeah, and they're strong. You don't realize how strong them little jokers are.
When he pulled away, he was out of the trap, knew he could go, and he just pulled right out of our hand. But I thought that they would have like a slimy feel to them, but they don't. It's like
rough, like leather.
Yeah, it's just like boot leather.
Yeah. Yeah, they. I had the opportunity to go down to South Carolina, and we drew a permit for them year before last, and went down and were able to kill one, and we caught a couple that were too small once we got them to the boat. And like a dummy, we were in shallow water. I was coasting over top of one. I was looking over the boat with the spotlight down in the water. I'm like, there's an alligator right there, and this thing's like 4 foot long. I'm like, I'm going to grab it. Okay. So I plunge off both hands down in and grab this thing behind the head and pin it to the ground. I didn't realize how strong they were, because this thing gets to twisting under the water, and I'm like, oh shit.
The predator just became the prey.
Exactly. I'm fixing to get bit, Y'all help me out here. So I was like having somebody grab my shoulders and help pull me up, because all my strength was trying to hold this alligator to the ground. And we finally got him up and got him in the boat. And it took 4 foot alligator. It took 2 of us holding this thing to try to keep it still. And it was still twisting in our arms pretty good. And they were like, well, just hold its mouth. Just hold it. Yeah, man, I ain't worried about that. I said, he's a lot stronger than me. He goes to twist and he's coming out of my hands. I said, and the first thing he's going to get in my thigh or my arm or something. So definitely you have to respect them. I pull them up in the boat in the turtle traps all the time, but they're in a turtle trap. I've had a instance where I had one in the boat, and it decided, I thought it was almost dead, and it decided it was ready to go. And when it left, it knocked me in the back of the boat, threw my phone over out in the water, and I was like, oh crap. So 3-hour drive home and no telephone, no directions. You don't realize how much you use directions on your phone until you don't have them anymore.
Yeah, every time we come to one of these conventions, I'm always telling Sarah, thank God for GPS.
Exactly. Yeah, because if you relied to the directions that they always put on the convention post of do this and do that, you'd never get there.
No. It's funny when talking about directions. We used to go down to like Alabama or Georgia, beaver trapping and land trapping, and the directions I'm sure it's different now because like Louisiana they don't do that, but we go and they say, well, you go up here to the big rock, you take a left, and then you go up here to the white church, And they ain't talking about the color of the church. Then you take a left, and you go to the black church and take a right.
Yeah, that's unfortunately. There's a lot of places out there that are still like that, and they definitely.
Well, my dad first went down there. It was in the '60s, and they hadn't got over the Civil War yet. I mean, so they tell him go home, Yankee.
Oh my gracious! Yeah, it's amazing how some parts of the country just are still set back in time. I noticed that in South Dakota. You go out there and you just walk up to somebody's door and knock on the door and ask them for permission. And most of the time, if nobody's already trapping there, they'll say, "Yeah, sure, kill the coyotes or whatever." Yeah. You can't do that in the East. You go in the East, there's the land blocks are so small, and it's just a different way of life. Depends on where you go. I mean, some states still use tooth traps.
Yeah.
Of course, our state you can't. It just depends on where you're at on what you can use.
Coyote, attention, please. We have some extra activities going on.
Shit, they were announcing. I was hoping they were going to say they found a bag of money. I was going to go down there and tell them it was mine.
Hosted by Becky.
Yes, it's been a great show. I've enjoyed it. I wasn't here but 2 days, but a lot of people here. I'm not used to this with a local association or a state association.
Well, Harold's going to have to up his game.
Harold's a good dude. He does a lot for our association. And,
yeah, he does. I see him all the time. Anybody that listens about trapping, Harold will talk to him.
Yeah, exactly.
And Harold doesn't care if they're not interested. You will bend, or I won't stop talking.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly. Harold, like I said, I've known him for a few years. I've only been involved in our state association for, sadly to say, but a handful of years. I've went to them in years past. Depends on who was there. But I've started going pretty religiously the last 4 or 5, and hopefully that'll continue, Lord willing. She's back.
You know,
Troublemaker's
creeping
back.
around.
Are y'all still on the TR?
We are.
You are.
Yep.
Mrs. Rich Fowlers was just telling me about her horn honking.
Yeah.
We got that on there.
Yeah, we got that on there, and I said Rich Fowler's wife isn't able to shut off the horn.
Yeah. She said she had to crawl over the seats.
I gave play-by-play of everything.
Yes, it did. We should have videoed it.
I said, now she's over there, got her face in her hands. I said, now she can't hardly open the door.
Yeah.
It was a play-by-play.
Yeah, okay.
I told Tommy we should be recording this.
It would have been comical. But.
Yeah, because she couldn't shut it off. I mean,
No.
The audience has already heard, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for presentation of crawling across that center seat, she did pretty good, you know?
Yeah. I mean, she could be like a Olympic pole vaulter.
Yeah, she was very agile.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
Rich is a lucky man.
Oh, me.
So, well, anyways, we're at our time. But you got anything you want to?
No, I appreciate you having me. Like I said, just go out there and enjoy it. Learn up as much as you can. Soak up all the information. It's out there. Everybody's wanting to give it away or sell it to you, or however you get it. It doesn't matter.
No, it's only money.
Some people are too proud to go to school. So I'm not. I'll go to everyone in the country if I can afford it, or it didn't overlap with something else.
Yep. But if you want to come up and hang out with Tommy and Chappie and me and Sarah and Wendy and Haggerty will be there. Chappie's putting on a school. He asked us if we want to come out and be involved. Chappie's in charge. Just look up Elite Trapping School on Facebook, and you can get signed up. And
just a reminder,
it's gonna be a good time. You're talking about laughs. We're gonna have a few of them. Hopefully, they're all at somebody other than me.
Yeah,
there are 2 barns. Number 3.
How we were going to do this interview is have Haggerty call Tommy and say, he's the interpreter on this whole deal. But anyways, thanks a lot for doing it, and
I appreciate it.
We'll do another one when we get up there with all of us up to the school.
All right, that'll work.